Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us tmosso@the1916company.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. tmosso@the1916company.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing a 2024 launch in 500 pieces in diamond-like carbon-coated stainless steel. From Bremont of Britain, this is the Bremont Bamford Aurora, a highly customized 500-piece limited edition based on the Supermarine GMT. So it is both Bamford and Bremont, but it's also a GMT and a dive watch. So let's talk about the different facets, but let's start with the size. 43 millimeters in diameter by 16.5 millimeters thick, 50.8 millimeters from lug tip to lug tip with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now I'm going to throw the watch on my wrist, as ever, 16 centimeters in circumference. You can see the watch is quite stark. The combination of the black and the green makes it stand out and perhaps even appear a little bit larger than it is. While it's definitely thick, it's not a difficult watch to wear. The long-time case profile and lug profile of Bremont watches, meaning even though my wrist is 16 centimeters, I could definitely wear this 43. So if your wrist is my size or larger, you're going to find that this is a fit. Now the strap's a nice piece and remarkably thick cut. You can see they do not short you the leather. It is a nubuck calfskin, which means it is a sanded and one might say more refined profile, as the nubuck has that velvety texture precisely because the upper parts of the skin are sanded away to remove pores and scars and imperfections, leaving this wonderful suede-like texture behind. So we have that. We have on the bottom a more conventional calfskin, no crimping, no gouging, and a contrasting green stitch, which works beautifully. The watch includes a polished and satin finished Bremont branded pin buckle in steel with diamond-like carbon. Now PVD is a method, physical vapor deposition. Diamond-like carbon is a material. Not all PVD is created equal. DLC is the good stuff. It is exceptionally resilient against scratching, and this case is destined for a long and handsome existence unless you do something truly stupid to it. Now, like I said, it has a lot of dive watch qualities, including an unusual unidirectional rotating bezel that also works as a GMT bezel. So yes, you can use this as a dive timer, and it does have a helium escape valve for saturation divers, and it is 500 meters water resistant. On the reverse, you can see the image of a Supermarine float plane, as the company best known for creating the Supermarine Spitfire fighter of World War II originally cut its teeth building high-performance float planes, including record setters. So this watch, being aquatically themed, is associated with those early waterborne Supermarine products. Now, this is Bremont's triptych case, which separates the vessel holding the movement and the dial from the lug profiles themselves, which you can see feature a combination of polished bevels and satin black. We have an off-centered crown with Bremont's signature propeller, reminding you that the founders, Nick and Giles English, are aviators and flight enthusiasts. You can also see that it's off-centered to make this an ambidextrous watch so it won't dig your wrist. And then we have a bezel that has a really nice detent to it. Listen. And you can see it is a true 120 click, despite having the chunky detent of a 60 click, which I appreciate greatly. Now you can also see that there's a full sapphire cap over the bezel, a la 50 fathoms, which means when we turn out the lights, the entirety of this Bremont Bamford Aurora is luminescent. You can see that the bezel is easy to read and that you can use it as a timing reference. You can also use it as a reference for gauging a tertiary time zone, as this is a true dual time with the ability to calculate a third time zone off of the 24-hour hand using the bezel. And the nice thing about that sapphire cap is it looks more luxurious than modern ceramics, and again, it gives you that glossy, almost wet look while protecting all the lume underneath. The dial is California dial, so you have Roman numerals on the top, Arabic numerals on the bottom. And a little bit like a 1930s Panerai, it is both a California dial and a sandwich dial with a stencil featuring the indices and the numerals placed on top of a solid luminescent disc. You could be forgiven for thinking that the nomenclature of this British-made watch was derived from the mythical American Aurora spy plane, as Bremont is conventionally associated with aeronautics and flight. But in fact, it is Aurora Borealis, which, thanks to solar flares, we've been receiving in rich abundance in 2024, so it glows like the Aurora Borealis. You could see a little hand in green that's a nod to the Martin Baker series of ejection seat-themed Bremont watches, and then it is a no-date dial, which cleans things up a little bit and allows you to focus on the primary functions of the watch, its GMT capability, and then its dive timing capability. So you can see that is the 24-hour hand. It makes one circuit of the dial per day, and conventionally, if you're not using this bezel to read off the third time zone, you would just set it top to bottom like this and read the second time zone off the bezel. So for example, 10 a.m. right there. Now the watch does feature a stop seconds function, so you can bring it to a halt, set it against a reference time. And it has a couple of fun features. First of all, it's adjusted to meet the ISO 3159. Now this is not a COSC certified Swiss chronometer because all the work is done in Britain, but the 3159 is the standard the COSC uses to establish a chronometer. And that's exactly what's done at Bremont on these. Turn it all over, and once again, handsome case back, media blast, satination, we have some polish, but you will notice anti-magnetic. It has a soft iron cage around the movement to shield it from magnetism. Chronometer, we already established that. Automatic winding, this is a Sellita SW330. It's basically the Sellita version of an ETA 2893. So bidirectional automatic winding, 4 Hz beat rate, stop seconds, 12 24-hour dual time capability. Chronometer certified, anti-magnetic in this application, 25 pivot joules, and a slightly more than average 50-hour power reserve. You can also see that we have anti-shock. So the movement spacers that help to bind the movement to the interior of the case, they are rubber and they help to absorb shock. So this is not just something like an ISO 1413 shock-resistant watch. This is a very shock-resistant watch. And there is a lot to love. Of course, Bamford, created by George Bamford, the scion of a defense contracting family, decided he wanted to do watch customizations. He got started with Rolex, moved on to LVMH brands, and he's worked with Bamford and Bremont to create this sort of British collaboration featuring the best of both. If you love this watch, reach out. Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.